Hey guys, this is Jimmy from Prime at Its Best. Howdy. I'm dirty. Been playing with trucks all day. Just thought I'd show you what I look like. Not much. Anyway, just thought I'd give you a little clue who's talking to you. My name's Jimmy. And I don't know, I mess around with these old trucks and what I call playing with them, which, I find enjoyment in it. But, just messing around with them, having them in my presence, so to speak. And just wanted to tell you, sometimes when I get playing with an old truck or something, I get to thinking about, I don't think about things that happened in my life. Why did it happen? What caused this to happen? And most of my problems originated originated with cars and trucks, I think, or contributed. Let me say that, contributed. Okay, let me tell you a story about it. I'm talking about friends today. That's the topic. Friends. People in my let me start off by saying my mother always said I was gullible. I'm real gullible. Jimmy, you're gullible. You believe anything anybody tells you. And you know what? I guess she's right, because she's my mother, right? I believe just about anything. I'm a lot older now and a lot wiser than I was then, but I'm still not the brightest bulb in the room. But I've had some friends in my life that, let me say, were so-called friends. I thought were very, very good friends. Friends that, let's start off by this scenario, which is a true story. I had a friend of mine that come by all the time, just about every evening, every other evening, whatever. I mean, he was over here at least, several times a week. He knew my wife and I very well, and we had mutual friends, all this other stuff. And a church-going guy, him and his family. And anyway, I had a 71 Chevy truck, short bed, beautiful truck, but it sounded good, looked good. It was really, really nice. Had aftermarket wheels, had a great sound coming out the exhaust. I mean, it's just a bang up truck, meaning good. I'm sorry. That's one of our expressions around here. I live in East Tennessee, so anyway, he was coming over all the time. We just hang out, play with cars and trucks. At the time, I had my 62 Impala, my 62 Impala Super Sport, my white Impala 2-door hardtop. Let's see, what else do I have? I had a couple of 2 or 3 trucks, 57s, I'm sure. Yeah, 357s trucks. I constantly, if I got tired of playing with one, I'd play with another one for a while. Just making things a little bit better or something all the time. He was into that too, and he's a body man, somewhat of a mechanic. I've seen his paint jobs on cars and stuff before. They're absolutely gorgeous. And so I was asking him one day, I said, I'm not going to mention his real name. We'll just say his name's Mike. Let's just refer to him as Mike. Of course, that's not his real name. But I said, hey, Mike, what would you... I said, there's a few things on this. My 71 Chevy C10 truck was blue and white. Kind of a medium blue with a white top. Man, it's sharp, gorgeous. But it had a few little spots on it that I wanted him to fix. And I said, what would you charge, at your shop to, fix, there was a spot on the bed, and it seemed like there was 1 or 2 other little spots, just minor stuff, blended in, make it look good. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, I'll do you right, whatever. So it was good. I took the truck over there, my wife and I did, and dropped it off at his shop. And man alive, there's a spider down there. Remind me to get him. Oh, I can see him, eggs and all. Got to get him out of here. Anyway. So I took it over, my wife and I took it over to his shop and dropped it off, and said, just holler when you're ready, or if you want, I said, if you want me to come help you, I will be happy to come help you. whatever. I liked hanging around him, and I thought he liked hanging around my wife and myself. Where I go, my wife goes with me. She likes cars and trucks as well. She grew up around them, and she had a Camaro in her youth too, a 67 or 8. I mean, my wife is kind of a hot rodder, so if you're wondering why she's always hanging around, it's because she has the same interest. That's one reason why I married her. We shared the same interest. Anyway, we took that truck over there, and I don't know, it was there a few weeks or something. He still kept coming by, blah, blah, blah. And, so I said, how's the truck coming, want me to come help you? I said, instead of you coming over here, you want me to come over to your place and, we'll piddle with it, sand on it, whatever you want me to do. I said, you tell me, I'll do it. And he said, no, it's doing okay. So we finally went over there one day and to look at the truck. And instead of fixing a couple of little spots, like I pointed out, just blended in, shouldn't have took. He's an expert painter. I mean, perfect. Wouldn't take him no time. I mean, he's got all the experience. He's done this his whole life. And he had stupid. Hang on just a second, guys. They're looking for a place to make a home, and they're not going to make a home on me or on my truck. Stink bug. Anyway, we went over there, and he had the whole thing stripped. No paint on it. He said, Jimmy, this is a really solid truck, really, really solid. Said, I started working on it, and I realized that this is an outstanding truck. I mean, perfect. No rust, no nothing to be fixed, nothing. And he said, let's just paint the whole thing, start all over and paint the whole thing. So I said, okay. I said, let's do that. I said, if you're willing to do it, I'm, as long as I can afford it, I'm willing to pay for it, And so, we started helping him. My wife and I got on ladders, step ladders, whatever, got all the caulking out. See all that? Dug all that out, put in new caulking. I went to Crossville, Tennessee and bought all kinds of new parts for the truck. Brand new parts. I mean, my wife and I spent a bunch of money. I'm talking thousands. The truck was worth it. I mean, after I seen him, it was all worth it. And, we were over there working on the truck and everything. My wife and I were. And in the meantime, he told me, he said, Jimmy, he said, we got what do you call it? Like I said, him and his family went to church and said, we got what is it called? Old Timers Day. Old Timers Day at church. And he said, I wish I had no car to drive to church. He said, I'm going to wear my overalls. We're all going to dress up old-timey. I said, I'll tell you what you do, Mike. I said, come on over here. And I pulled out my 62 Bel Air wagon. I mean, there's a sharp old car, lowered, black primer. My name is Primer at its best. Black primered, really nice wheels on it. 350 automatic. I mean, it was a really nice car, wagon. I said, you and your kids get in it, drive it to church. I said, just act like it's your car. I said, all I ask is, I said, it's full of gas. I said, all I ask is when you bring it back, fill it up. He said, okay, Jimmy, that's great. What a good friend, and a few days later, he brought it back. And, it's full of gas, all that stuff. Well, we continued on with my truck, my 71. And, I kept asking him about it, blah, blah, blah. And, my wife and I'd go over there periodically and do little things to it, things that he told us to do. And I don't know. It's kind of like he changed that quick. I mean, I was as good as gold to him. And, if he done anything for me, I paid him, even though he's my friend, I paid him. And he flipped. I don't know what his thinking was, but he flipped. And he said, Jimmy, you can't afford your truck. He said, the bill is going to be so high you won't be able to afford it. And I thought he was joking. I said, what, Mike? I'm trying to keep up with that name, Mike. I said, what do you mean, Mike? What's going on? He said, Jimmy, you can't afford this truck. I mean, he got angry with me, angry and insistent. He said, your bill is going to be astronomical. And he said, I'm going to, for all the work I've done to this truck and all this other stuff, he said, I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And he said, in the meantime, I'm going to give you a 69 Chevy Impala 2-door sports coupe. It's a nice looking car, by the way. Actually, I wish I had it back. But anyway, it's about the color of this almost. 2-door sports coupe. Had the funny rear window, you know, as a sports coupe. And I said, I finally said, okay, I was telling my wife, but I said, what's going on with him? Or what's happened? And make a long story short, he liked my truck so much that he was willing to rip me off, which he did. I mean, remember, my mama said I was gullible. But I take everybody at their word. I thought he was my friend. I thought he was my friend. Ate supper with us. I mean, it was unbelievable, you know. So anyway, make a long story short, he wound up with the truck. He never did fix it, never did finish it, and he wound up selling it to someone else. And I overheard through the grapevine that he told one of our mutual friends. Remember I said we had mutual friends? He told one of our mutual friends, he said, I really, really lost a good friend when I screwed Jimmy over. And I think he felt sorry that he'd done that. I don't know what happened to him. But to tell you, this was hard for me to do. This was hard. I didn't used to be the person that I am now. But I was at a car auction several years ago now, and he was there at a car auction. I was with Tim Dixon, actually, at Gas X Chop Shop, and we were at a car auction. There he was. He was looking at a car. He was down on his knees looking at it or something. You know, they were auctioning off a bunch of old cars and old trucks. He was giving them the once over, the twice over, whatever. And he looked up and he seen me. And his eyes was that big around. And you know what I done, guys? I stuck my hand out. I said, how you doing, Mike? How you doing? And he shook hands with me. And, you know, the Lord says, you know, basically the Lord says, I can't forgive you, meaning me. He can't forgive me for my sins if I don't forgive somebody else's sins first. So I forgive him. I forgive him. I can't take this stuff with me anyway. And this might not make a bit of sense to y'all. Might not. I'm trying to give you the short end of this story. The short story. Anyway, we didn't talk or anything, but I did shake hands with him. I made the first effort, stuck my hand out, shook hands with him, and then said, Mike, how you doing? And I said, I'm just over here with Tim Dixon, hanging out with him. And I haven't seen him since. I don't know where the truck went. But, well, let me tell you this. One of my other friends wound up with it. One of my other friends, one of our mutual friends wound up with the truck. And it was finished. And he was going to buy some new wheels for it. I went over to look at the truck. He said, come by and look at your old truck. So I did. It's a beautiful truck. It was to begin with. And probably one of the nicer ones I've had. One of. It wasn't patina style either. It was all perfect, you know. And anyway, he said, I'm going to get me some new wheels for this truck. He said, would you be interested in your old wheels? I said, yeah, I would. I said, I'd like to have them old wheels. I said, I got some more C10s. I said, I'd like to, you know, put them on one of my old C10 trucks. They're good looking wheels. So he said, okay. So when I get my wheels bought, I'll holler at you. You can come by and pick them up. You know, we settled, you know, made an agreement, shook hands, all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, that guy sold it to my friend that screwed me over on my truck. So, haven't seen or heard from him either. I don't know, it's funny. Isn't it funny? I think it is when you stand back and look. Just stand back and look. Look at what money does to you, greed does to you, and in this case, what an old truck would do to you. I mean, is it worth? I I have I have a hard time picking out who is a really good friend and who is not. I'll tell you right now, Brian, GM1038 on YouTube, him and his dad Charlie, and Waylon and Corey and Tim Dixon and Angie are good friends. And I have a bunch more too. But I'm saying, it's funny how I just can't believe it sometimes that a truck you would rather screw somebody over an old truck so you could have it in your possession and feel good about it. I don't know how you sleep. I really don't. I mean, I laid awake in the bed many a night wondering what's got into him. I mean, I thought I knew him like a book. Ate supper with me all the time. You know, he'd stay till dark. I don't understand it. I really don't. My wife and I was both just in shock. But, you know, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. So I just let the Lord handle it. And my other friend, too, I don't know what happened to him. He just kind of went haywire, too. We had an agreement. And I don't know what happened on that deal. I really don't. And, I hate that happened. I really do. I valued his friendship very much, really, really good friend. I talked about him at my work. I mean, we weren't just, I thought we were really, really good friends. And I thought he was helping me out, but I don't know. Anyway, have y'all had any friends do y'all badly before? I've got lots of friends that I thought were my mother. I don't know. She knew something about me. If somebody tells me something, I believe it until proven wrong. Instead of me doubting it from the very beginning, having doubt in my head, well, what are they really trying? I'm not that kind of person. I'm just the kind of person that, if you tell me something, if you tell me it's raining outside, it's raining outside. I'm not going to run to the window or run to the door and look to see if it is raining. I'm not. I'll take your word for it. If you're telling me the truth, that's it. It's raining outside. But I don't know. People will give up a friendship. They'll give up. That's what I get some days when I come out here and I pedal with these old trucks. I have memories and I think about that old truck. Yeah, I wish I had it back. Yeah, I wish I had my friend back. I mean, he was funny. We got along just great. But I don't. And that was his decision. So I don't know. Same way with, I've been married twice before Mrs. PIB came along. Boy, she's a keeper. But I've been married twice before, as I've mentioned many times on this channel. And, I thought I had some really, really good friends. But speaking for my second wife, I mean, she just, let's see, how can I say this? Everybody in town knew her, so to speak, except me. My second wife stayed home she had a son before me, which I was good with. I got married to her. He was 2 years old, 2 or 3. I think he was 2, going on 3. And, I married her, and we was married about 1.5 years, 2 years, something. I think maybe about 1.5 years. And she had my son. We had a child together. And, she was a stay-at-home mom. I worked all the time. Begged for overtime. I'd go in early, stay over late. About like Brian, GM1038. I told my wife then when we were married, I said, we had 2 children. I claimed the other one just like he was my own. And I said, you stay home. You be the housewife. You give them a home best that you can. And I'll, of course, I'm going to do my very best to make sure we have food on the table, our house payments made, our insurance is made, we have medicine, clothing, school clothes, all that kind of stuff. And, I said, you be the stay-at-home mom. Well, I'm making this story really short, trying to. I'm just giving you a scenario of what went on. And, but that didn't work out too good either, because everybody in town knew except me. And man, I got to tell you, that hurt. Oh my goodness, that hurt so bad, because I trusted her, and for her to put those two youngins through her shenanigans is outrageous. Anyway, let's see, I'm trying to choose my words. Anyway, my neighbor, let's end this. My neighbor come over one day. He was an older gentleman. He's probably, I don't know, late 70s, maybe 80s. And he really liked me. I mean, I'd come home. Guys, I had a huge yard, huge yard, front and back. And it'd take me 5 hours push mowing. I couldn't afford a riding mower. It'd take me 5 hours non-stop. I'd stop and put gas in it and keep going. Push mowing back and forth. And everybody said we had the prettiest yard in the whole neighborhood. I wasn't going for the prettiest yard. I was just trying to keep the yard mowed, but it was a beautiful yard. And it was just huge. It's more than I could do. By the time I worked all the time and trying to take care of, everything else and, play with my children and, all that kind of stuff, go to baseball games. They played every kind of sport you can think of. Anyway, my neighbor came over and he said, Jimmy, he said, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, yes, sir. I said, come on in. He's an older gentleman. I used to go mow his yard some. He had an embankment that, like I said, he was in his, I'm going to say 80s. They're all deceased now. They were old back then. But he couldn't mow his bank. And I said, don't worry about your bank. I said, I'll mow your bank for you. No big deal. So, we were really good friends. And he thought a lot of me for some reason. I don't know why, but he thought a lot of me. Meaning he liked me. I was always there to help him if he needed help. But he said, sit down, Jimmy. He said, I got something to tell you. And I said, okay. So I sat down. I invited him into we had a little house, but it was our house. I mean, I wasn't renting or nothing. It was a little old bitty house, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, had a basement. Guys, that needed a lot of work, but hey, is our house. I was proud to have it. I was so happy to have a house because I'd rented all my life before then. And anyway, he sat down and he said, Jimmy, I got something to tell you. I said, okay. I thought he needed help doing something. And he said, he said, your wife has some shenanigans going on. That's why I'm going to say it. Your wife has some shenanigans going on. And he said, I'll watch you leave for work at 3:30 in the morning. I'd leave out for work and I'd work 10, 12 hours a day. He said, I'll watch you leave for work. And he said, I can still see your taillights going down the road. And he said, another feller's pulling in your driveway. And, man, that really hurt. And getting back on friends, he was one of my friends. I knew him from the auto parts store. I used to get my parts there. And I'd tell him, I'd say, come over sometime. I said, we'll sit around, shoot the breeze about old cars and old trucks. And you can tell me about how your day went at the auto parts store. And I'll tell you about welding or whatever, whatever. And anyway, he was coming over, but he was coming over at the times I wasn't there. So it was man, I just tell you guys, the kids, the two boys involved, I loved them with, oh my goodness, and I loved my wife too. I did. I didn't know there was anything going on. And I just didn't. And come to find it out, as I found out more and more about what was going on, several of my friends knew her. And man, it cut to the bone. I didn't realize, there I was going to town with her, getting groceries, before and and all the while, people were laughing behind my back, or that's the way I envisioned it. People were laughing behind my back, and it hurt. I mean, I'll tell you what, that's a really, really hurtful pain. Anyway, so friends, I never have been very good at picking out friends, but now, I don't know, at this point in my life, you might think this is crazy. I do too sometimes, but I just don't care if I make any more friends or not. I mean, the way things have been done, I just don't care anymore. If I make it, I don't mind talking to somebody and being friendly and all that, but man, every time I really get a whole hog into a friend or something, it always winds up being painful for me. But like I said, I got GM 1030, Brian, I got Brian, Charlie, I got a bunch of friends right now in my inner circle. But I don't know, for some reason, maybe you can understand why. I don't want to get hurt anymore. It hurts really bad. It hurts really bad. And you don't know how extreme my mind was at the time. It was a horrible feeling in my life. I felt like whenever I went to town, people were pointing at me whenever I'd walk by them and maybe laughing or saying, "Or that's him. He's the one that was at work all the time." And my ex-wife said, she wanted a divorce, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" And she said, "I just want a divorce," and I never could figure out why. I mean, she didn't have to get up early unless she took the boys to school, and that was another thing. She was dropping the boys off at school at 4:30 and 5 in the morning, so she could spend time with her boyfriend, my friend at the auto parts store. And I found out that she was making him big breakfasts. Guys, I was just eating a little biscuit or a little Pop-Tart and a cup of coffee, and I was out the door to go to work. And she was making him big breakfasts. I think I'm saying that right. Eggs, gravy, and all that stuff, and I was paying for it. I was paying for all of it. I didn't know it. She rung up that charge card to the max. I mean, you couldn't. And I found all this out after we got divorced, And she said, "Well, I'll take the charge cards." I said, "You're going to take them." I said, "You run them up." I didn't think we owed anything, My wife was in charge of the checkbook. My check had, we'd pay bills, and I thought she was paying bills, and I thought she was being truthful. And anyway, man, you talk about hurting. I felt like, I don't think I've ever felt I never felt so stupid in my whole life. I mean, I never have felt as stupid as I did during that time in my life, and it lasted me a long time. I didn't want to date nobody. Cars and trucks that I had at the time, I didn't care one thing about them. I didn't even want to look at them. I did not have a care in the world. I finally got to the point that, excuse me, got a frog in my throat, that all I cared about, I couldn't have her, because she wanted out. And, you come to that realization, I don't want somebody that doesn't want me. So then I thought, well, my son, I want my son. Yeah, I couldn't have both sons because he wouldn't, the first one wouldn't mind, remember. But the second one was, and I was wanting him, and I was wanting him to live with me. So anyway, you know what? Let's end this right here. This is long enough. Just believe me. I'm so glad I have the wife I have now, and Mrs. PIB. She's a good one. She's always there wherever I'm at, and always with me, and always true to me. And I'm glad for the friends I have now. If you've had any of these experiences or something similar to it, let me know in the comments, okay? Because sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm the dumbest person alive. Sometimes I feel that way. I just can't get over it. You know, every once in a while, I realize now that I'm probably the most blessed person that there is now. I went from the very bottom of the pits back up. Now I'm at the highest peak, and I thank God, Jesus Christ, and God the Father for that, because I think the Lord got tired of people messing me up. You know, I really do. I think He just, after watching all that and watching me cry and beg and, you know, plead and ask the Lord to help me, I think He finally, you know, relented and helped me out of the pits I was in. I mean, I was down, guys. You won't never know how far down the pit I was at. I was at the end of my rope. I'll just leave it at that. But now look at me. And y'all might be laughing, thinking, well, you're not much better off. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. I'm very, very blessed, and I'm very happy. And I'm blessed to be able to talk to you guys, you know. Y'all are my friends. And let me know if you've had similar experiences. Oh, yeah, I got to get that spider. Man, he's a big one. Can y'all see him? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Let's see. That might be a black widow. I got to get rid of him. Anyway, guys, my name is Jimmy. And I'm sorry if I freaked y'all out or said something I shouldn't have said or something like that. You know, I'm just telling you what's went on in my life. Maybe you've had similar circumstances. A lot of people get divorced. A lot of people break up. A lot of people have kids and they don't have no, you know, rights to them, stuff like that, you know. A lot of people's had friends like I've had in the past. And, you know, the thing is, I can sleep with a clear conscience. And I think if they had any soul about them or any kind of gumption, I think they might struggle at night. You know, that's what I'm thinking. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And I mean, I don't wish nobody bad. Everybody, I wouldn't have had my beautiful, wonderful wife now had it not happened the way it did. I just had to see and overcome the circumstance of the situation I was in. I'm not saying I'm special, you know, or anything like that. I'm not saying nothing like that. I'm nothing. I am nothing. But I'm just telling you what's happened in my life. And maybe I ask myself sometimes, well, why, Jimmy, why don't you want to go, you know, make new friends? Or I don't know. I'm at the point, you know, that I've really kind of got all the friends I want, and I'm kind of good. I mean, I don't mind. Let me just hush. My name is Jimmy. I don't make no sense. I don't. I'm a complete nut. That's the reason I showed you what I look like before we started the video. I thought, well, you need to see what a real nut looks like. Well, that's me. You are watching Prime at its best, and this is an unusual video. I hope well, I don't know if you enjoyed it or not. But anyway, if you've had similar circumstances, let me know in the comments. You know, I've talked about workplaces and stuff. I mean, it just seems like I have one circumstance, you know, one incident after another. My workplace, you know, getting chewed out for no reason and in front of everybody. I mean, my goodness. Anyway, I got some of those videos too you might want to check out. I think one of them's titled Why I Sold All My Old Cars and Trucks So I Could Retire. Something like that, I think. Man, there are stink bugs. This place is... Sorry, don't mean to gross y'all out, but anyway, if you've had circumstances like it, if you like this kind of stuff, let me know. I can turn you on to some to some more good stories. Oh boy. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. My name is Jimmy, as I said. You're watching Prime at His Best. I'm on Instagram, Prime at His Best, Facebook, Prime at His Best. I got a second YouTube channel called Man on a Budget. There's a lizard in here somewhere. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Man on a Budget, and Facebook, Man on a Budget. Instagram, Man on a Budget 1, and Facebook, Man on a Budget. I got distracted, didn't I? I apologize. Please like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Maybe you won't. I'll try to talk better. You know, I don't know. I feel like there's some of you guys out there, some of you guys and gals, let me say it like that are my friends. So, you know, anyway, let me know some of your experiences. You know, maybe we can reminisce or whatever. I mean, I'm in a really good spot right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. Heard that at church. I'm not explaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. I'm just explaining what went on in my life. Hopefully you haven't experienced what I've experienced, but if you have, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and please give me a thumbs up. YouTube will push my videos out a little bit further. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Y'all have a blessed day today. Oh my goodness. God is great. God is good. I'm so happy to be right now in this spot that I'm at. And yeah, before I forget it, my ex-wife used to say, I don't like being around you, Jimmy. She said, you're so predictable. So predictable. Well, somebody's got to go to work, don't they? I never did understand that statement either. Y'all have a blessed day. Catch you in the next one, guys. I'll see y'all later. God bless you. See y'all later.